This original WSRE presentation is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Rameca Vincent Leary and welcome to this edition of inStudio. It's an issue of global proportions that impacts people from all walks of life. Human trafficking, what is it and why has it wreaked havoc on our society? From sex trafficking to domestic servitude to labor trafficking, it's an ever-present reality that has no age limitations. Now in Florida, it's more prevalent than you may think as the war on human trafficking escalates. Tonight, we'll be discussing this timely issue during a special broadcast. Now, due to the program's sensitive nature, parental discretion is advised. Welcome back, everyone. Florida is no stranger to human trafficking. In fact, Attorney General Pam Bondi has made this an overarching initiative. She says, quote, human trafficking robs people of their dignity and deprives them of their most basic human rights. Florida is a zero-tolerance state for human trafficking, and even Bondi agrees there's still much work to be done. During this segment, I'm happy to welcome Giselle Rodriguez, State Outreach Coordinator for the Florida Coalition Against Human Trafficking. She joins us via telephone from Clearwater, Florida. On set, I have Brad Dennis, National Search Director for KlaasKIDS, and Detective Jeffrey Brown with the Pensacola Police Department. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Such a pressing issue, isn't it?
It is.
Giselle, I'm going to start with you because we do need to educate our audience. Can you give us a blanket definition for human trafficking?
Human trafficking is basically modern-day slavery. Unfortunately, we've all been taught that slavery was abolished within the United States in 1863 when the Emancipation Proclamation was passed. But if you look through our course of history, you definitely see that slavery still continued, especially through the chattel system. It just looked a little bit different. And when we are talking about this issue, again, we are just basically talking about slavery, whether it's forced labor or forced prostitution. It's important for people to understand that in order to prove human trafficking, you have to be able to show that the act was induced through force, fraud, or coercion.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Giselle. Now, Brad, you are with KlaasKIDS right here in the Pensacola area. Tell us about the organization and your role.
Well, the KlaasKIDS Foundation is a national missing children's organization. We were founded back in 1994 following the abduction of Polly Klaas. And in 2003, we created the Search Center for Missing Children, which is housed right here in Pensacola. In 2004, we took our first human trafficking related case. It was a missing child, 14 years of age, that was seen being pushed into a vehicle by a complete stranger to everyone in the neighborhood. Law enforcement here locally gave us a call and asked us to come out and do a search and rescue operation. But the information that came out of that investigation led us to believe that this was not the typical predator, that this was some other kind of predator that we weren't really used to, that was not on our radar. It turned out that she was being forced into a vehicle by a pimp, and she was being pimped out at one of our local hotels here in the area.
And how many years have you been with the organization?
Well, we started in 2003, so ever since 2003 we've been running that operation here in Pensacola, so for the last 13 years.
Have you ever worked collaboratively with our next guest, Jeffrey?
I haven't worked directly with Brad, but I have used him on several occasions. That's the pressing issue here in the collaborative effort. It's such a, something that's pressing upon this community that agencies come together in these type of situations, either with my agency, with Escambia County, Homeland Security, FBI, we all work together to try and fight this head on.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your position with the Pensacola Police Department? We know that your specialty is internet crimes against children.
I specialize in any kind of internet crime against children. Of course, branch out from there because the internet touches everybody's life nowadays. We are, the human trafficking side definitely encroaches on the internet side as well. On top of that, I do forensics for our department as well.
Now, during this segment, we're going to be focusing on sex trafficking, and we do have a clip that we would like to share with you now. It's the story of a young lady named Sarah.
The abuse, it was horrendous. I was tortured. I never thought a human being would go through what I went through and live.
For this woman, we'll call her Sarah, the suffering began when she was kidnapped in her early teens. Forced to engage in stripping and prostitution, Sarah endured horrific physical and mental abuse.
Having gasoline poured on me while they held the match. Being kicked and stomped on, being drugged by my hair. Having 15 guys circle me and stomp me, and I mean literally stomp me.
As traffickers moved her from city to city, town to town, fear, not shackles, kept Sarah from breaking free.
Fear of my family being harmed, fear of myself being harmed or killed, believing that my traffickers would carry out what they said they would do. Fear of no one believing me. Going to the police was not an option at the time, so I thought. I was brainwashed to believe that no one would help me. If anything, it would put me in more danger or even put me in jail.
Giselle, back to you for just a moment. In the state of Florida, sex trafficking in general, do we have a lot to be worried about here?
We absolutely do. This is definitely a crime that takes place throughout the entire state. Doesn't matter if it's a big city or a rural town. We have found sex trafficking cases of not just only minors, but we're finding a lot of adults. And one thing that we are finding that, unfortunately, not that many people want to talk about is sex trafficking within the LGBT community. Our law enforcement within the southern and central parts of Florida are actually starting to come across a lot more transgender youth than they are minor females. So we definitely do see that it touches upon various different groups, various ages. And again, this can also happen to males, which often isn't really discussed as much as it should be. But definitely this is something that takes place in every corner of Florida.
Now, Brad, with KlaasKIDS, can you give us another example of people maybe calling your organization, trying to make inroads or just that first point of contact? Do some people have fears when they're trying to report such issues?
I think that there, as Giselle has eloquently put, that there is just a lot of misunderstanding in our country today about what this issue really looks like. For a lot of people, this prostitution or this sex crime or sex trafficking, for a lot of them, was a victimless crime for so long that it's very difficult for them to find and see the victim in it. And even as much so as for the victims themselves, as you heard from the clip. There's a lot of shame, there's a lot of blame, there's a lot of that type of stuff that is placed on them by the trafficker, where it makes them feel like they can't reach out, that they shouldn't reach out, that no one's going to listen to them. One of the things and one of the messages that we are constantly putting out, as well as Florida Coalition, law enforcement, is to please come forward and tell us what is going on, because we do want to hear it. We do believe your story, and let's be able to work through that story, and let's be able to work through that case so we can find the best avenue of help.
Jeffrey, through internet crimes in your division, can you shed light on what you're doing specifically to make people feel more comfortable approaching you?
We reach out to a lot of different ads that are across the various Backpage, Craigslist, any form that we can reach out to people, tell them that we're here for them. You know, a lot of the problem is these guys that are in control of people, they'll tell them, you know, because you're prostituting out, you can't go to the police because you're prostituting, and that's against the law. And if you do that, you know, it's a brainwashing, like was talked about earlier, and that's far from the truth. We'll look at every case. We want to help everybody out there. With the internet, it gives us a little bit broader spectrum to kind of look at and see what's going on, and we can sometimes make cases if we see the same person popping up in New Orleans, Mobile, Pensacola, Panama City, kind of along the I-10 corridor. You know, it's a very vehicle traffic,
Right.
very people move traffic. So we get it stopped here just like New Orleans does, Texas. I mean, it's a straight shot.
Giselle, back to you. The numbers in the state of Florida, is there a specific area of concentration that has higher levels of sex trafficking? Could you shed some light on that for us?
Sure. Well, what we have found is that in cities that have a law enforcement-led task force that is actively pursuing sex trafficking cases, we do see higher numbers. Unfortunately, right now, there are parts of Florida where law enforcement isn't as involved as we would like to see them. The community isn't as aware. So in those places where people don't know what they're looking for or what it is that's happening, of course, we're not going to see that many reports. But again, in places like Miami, Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, there are law enforcement-led task forces. So those cities tend to have a higher number of reports. Now, I do want to make a clarification. You know, I did mention Tampa.
Right.
You know, a lot of people want to say that because there's all these strip clubs in Tampa that there's high numbers. But let's take Polk County. Sheriff Grady has done an amazing job of running the strip club or commercial sex industry out of Polk County. So there's no strip clubs, there's no adult bookstores. The commercial sex industry doesn't exist in the same manner that it does in Tampa. But there have been times when they have received just as many reports as Hillsborough County. So we can't always just pinpoint areas where there is an active commercial sex industry because, again, in other places where there isn't that presence, we're seeing as many cases as we are in some of those cities. But again, in Polk County, there is an active working group that is led by law enforcement. So they're actively pursuing these types of cases.
Interesting point that you make. Here locally in the Pensacola area, internet, Jeffrey, can you give us an idea? Some people have inflated the numbers. Do we really have a number per se?
I don't know if we have a number per se because we intertwine a lot of our cases with the internet crimes against children. It a lot of times branch out into these. It starts at that age and then moves forward from there. So it's kind of hard to judge a number on it on our end.
All right. Appreciate that. Okay, folks, as we head to break, we want to remind everyone that human trafficking is a serious issue that should never be ignored. Yes, you can help save a life. To report human trafficking, please call the National Hotline at 1-888-373-7888.
American Graduate is proud to recognize a champion for education.
Autism Pensacola is a support group for those living with autism, and we seek to improve life for those living with autism.
They have given us an opportunity to be part of our son's education, to be part of his playtime. They care about inclusion and acceptance.
And our goal, of course, is to increase children's independence and help them be successful in school. We want teachers who are equipped to meet the needs of children with autism in the schools. WSRE has been a great partner with Autism Pensacola, providing us with PBS resources and helping us further our mission. We know that working together as a community, we can improve life for all of those living with autism and have great outcomes.
We get to see these kids make such great gains in communication and in social skills. So it's so important for families of autism to have this wealth of information as well as support.
And it's so meaningful when a parent comes to you and says, you know, this is just what I needed for my son. It's made such a difference in my child's life. The more we do for them as children, the more positive their outcomes will be as adults.
Autism Pensacola, helping children and families connect the pieces. For more stories of champions, visit AmericanGraduate.org.
Hello, everyone. During this segment, we'll discuss another area of human trafficking, domestic servitude. I'd like to welcome back all our prior guests, Giselle Rodriguez from the Florida Coalition Against Human Trafficking, who's joining us on the phone, Brad Dennis with KlaasKIDS, and Detective Jeffrey Brown from the Pensacola Police Department. Let's dive into this pressing issue. Giselle, mail order bride. A lot of people think about that when domestic servitude comes to mind. What say you?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not what we're seeing. What we see typically in these types of cases is definitely female, either adult or minor, who are brought in from different countries under some type of visa, and then they are forced to work inside of people's homes. Now, there was one case in Florida that was found in Orlando involving a Russian female, and now she was both a domestic servitude and sex trafficking case due to the fact that during the daytime she was forced to clean her trafficker's home, which was another female, and then at night she was forced into prostitution. But typically what you do see is, again, you don't see that mail order bride in these types of situations, but you do see women and girls coming from different countries, and they're working inside the homes. They're physically abused, emotionally abused, and they're also sexually assaulted. And these are very hard cases to find because they're so hidden from the outside world.
You're right. Now, Brad, what about promises, domestic servitude? A lot of times females will come to this country, promises of grandeur, and then they're in a situation like that, as Giselle said, but so hard to detect.
Well, it is hard to detect, and I think one of the overarching reasons for that is that we're not getting the right education out there. Unfortunately, when we talk about human trafficking, especially in this country, the main focus of human trafficking in this country seems to be on the sex trafficking. And we need to focus more on the labor trafficking side of this, whether that's domestic servitude or forced labor. But we need to be able to talk to our public, our general public, and make them aware of what the signs are and what to look for.
All right, Jeffrey, back to you via the internet. And you have done so much training in other areas. Shed some light on this for us, specifically regarding the Pensacola area.
Been to several conferences, of course, to educate, to train our officers, because like everybody's saying, I'm more the second line guy that's going to see a lot of this, being an investigator. Our patrol officers that are out day and day making contacts with people, those are the people that are going to come across this type of issue, and it's educating them, which we're gearing toward, because like I said, the human trafficking side, most people do think of sex, and they don't think of, or they think of the mail order bride. They don't think of the forced labor side, where someone is abused, sexually abused inside the home, and that's the issue. It's not out in the open, it's inside a contained home.
What could be some telltale signs for your officers?
For the officers and also for the neighbors, it's, where if we go to a scene and it's a male and a female type situation, we got called to a disturbance or something along that line. She's not allowed to talk a lot. She's kind of being pushed to the side. Those are signs, cues that we need to look for. For neighbors, it's, when people get that, as we like to call it, the spidey sense, when a new person starts showing up.
Something's just not right.
Right, and to act on that. It's there for a reason. I tell people that all the time. And it's when this person just showed up over there. Now they've never really been out of the house, and we see them every now and then, working in the yard or carrying groceries in. But other than that, we don't see them out. That's not normal. So that's what we kind of want people to educate and call us, and we'll come investigate it. And if there's nothing there, if that's just how it is, that's how it is. But if there's something there, it's that first step that we need the public's help.
And they need to be brave in taking that first step, right, Brad?
Absolutely. One of the interesting dynamics to this is that many times one place that the traffickers will allow them to go is to church. And so we really do need to inform our faith-based communities of these signs, especially if you have that domineering persona that's over that individual, not allowing that person to really be able to communicate whatsoever. I mean, as a pastor, I know that, I go around and teach other pastors that these are some of the signs that we have to be looking out for, because we're supposed to be that refuge for the people. And if we can be that refuge, then we also have to be willing to be able to see the signs and then report the signs.
Right now, we're going to show you another clip. Listen closely to Esmeralda's story.
Esmeralda, a name we gave her, was just 11 years old when her mother in Guatemala sold her to a Guatemalan man who turned her into his sex slave. Smuggled into the United States, she endured long days of cooking, cleaning, and childcare, and nights of repeated rapes and brutality.
He told me that he paid money for me and that he can do whatever he wants with me. In that room where I used to sleep, he used to hit me, like, I used to bleed and everything because we have a carpet in the room. It was blood everywhere.
While traffickers find some victims in the U.S., often their targets, like Esmeralda, come from other parts of the world: Latin America, Africa, the former Soviet Union, and Southeast Asia.
It's important to realize that although people might have been brought here willingly, when they do arrive to the United States, that they're put in positions that they had no idea they would be placed in. They're either forced into prostitution or some type of slave labor. And it's important that we look at them as victims and not as criminals.
Jail could be better because, people will feed you and they know that you're there. But that house, nobody knows that I was there. I was like, I won't do nothing. It's like, I'm not there.
Traffickers rely on brutal tactics, emotional and physical bondage, to enslave their victims.
He told me if somebody asks you if I'm your husband, just tell them I'm your brother or something. You better not say nothing. If you say something, I'm gonna kill you. That was he telling me. He used to get a knife and put it in my neck over here, so he was gonna kill me.
Traffickers use a variety of methods to keep their victims enslaved. We've seen everything from force, fraud, or coercion, ranging from physical beatings and torture to psychological intimidation or threats to their family members back in their home country.
Giselle, we'd like to hear from you now, the Florida Coalition Against Human Trafficking. Can you give us some examples of what your organization has faced in relation to this?
Absolutely. Well, Esmeralda is actually a survivor that our organization worked with. Our founder actually was very hands-on with Esmeralda's case. She was sold at the age of 11, and she was not discovered until she was the age of 15. So for 4 years, no one knew that this little girl was even in that home. When the Lee County Sheriff's Office interviewed the neighbors, they even said, we've been there for birthday parties and barbecues, and we never saw her. One of the things I do want to make a clarification, the clip does refer to Esmeralda as a sex slave. This is not a sex trafficking case because perpetrator never prostituted her out. Now, she was unfortunately his personal sex slave, but this is a domestic servitude case where, again, she was in charge of all the cooking and the cleaning and all of the household chores that he forced her to do. And this was something, again, it was very hard for the organization due to the fact that she was impregnated by the trafficker. So after she had the child, there was days where she loved her child, and there was days where she absolutely loathed her child because the child looked exactly like the perpetrator. So it was definitely a touch and go, but I'm happy to say that she is doing well. She's graduated from college. She studied social work. She said she wanted to be like our founder and be able to help other girls that went through the same nightmare that she did. And her son is now 11 years old.
Wonderful story with a happy ending. But Jeffrey, we don't always have happy endings, do we?
No, unfortunately we don't. There are situations where she was fortunate enough to be found at such an early time. We find out that these can go on for years and years and years, where they would have a child and then that child would be brought up into the same environment, and it's just a repetitive circle, unfortunately.
Brad, through your travels and your experience, age ranges, have you seen varying ranges in ages for domestic servitude?
I mean, as you just heard from
Right.
Giselle, I mean, obviously, as young as very young teenagers that were brought over into the country under a guise of reasons.
Yes.
But also going, I know at least one of the cases that we were familiar with and worked from an external point of view. She was 48 years of age, and she was being held in a home basically as their personal slave, as their personal housekeeper. So I'm sure Giselle has better, but I think it fits all age groups, unfortunately.
Understandably so. Giselle, let's talk about numbers. In the state of Florida, compared to the nation, would you say that we do have a high prevalence for domestic servitude or not?
That's a really hard question to answer due to the fact that, unfortunately, not that many people understand what it is or look for it. I can tell you in the state of Florida, there's only been 4 cases prosecuted.
Wow.
3 of them involving minors and 1 involving an adult. So that doesn't say a whole lot when our state's only prosecuted for these types of cases.
We understand.
As far as the nation, again, there have been cases sporadically, but due to the fact that, again, these are so hard to find. And there have been situations in where victims have been found and just wanted to get back home, just wanted to be around family. So they went back to their country, which, of course, doesn't help in the investigation or prosecution of the traffickers. And we've also, we worked on a case as well down in South Florida with a woman from El Salvador, and her traffickers left the country. And the country that they went to is refusing to extradite them. So there's so many different reasons why we really don't have solid numbers, and I can't really tell you that Florida has a bigger problem than other states.
Right.
Because this just, when I talk about invisible victims, domestic servitude fits that bill.
Makes perfectly good sense. Giselle, thank you so much. Now, folks, as we head to break, we'll give you a preview of some of the characteristics associated with labor trafficking, an area of human trafficking that we will definitely be discussing in our next segment. Listen to Hal's story.
Asking the right questions helped free Hao Trin from the unthinkable abuse she suffered as a garment worker.
They don't have food for us to eat. And in a small room with so many people inside, we have no electric fan and too hot in the daytime.
Last time you needed to know, there wasn't this or this. When the last hurricane hit our state, we were there. And today, we're still here. But we're also here. Introducing Florida Storms, a free mobile app from the Florida Public Radio Emergency Network, built just for Florida. With content from the National Hurricane Center and National Weather Service, Florida Storms will alert you to any weather hazard that may threaten you or your family. Florida Storms, download it today.
WSRE Public Television and the Escambia Elementary Principals Association congratulate these Shining Star Award recipients. These students were selected upon the basis of good citizenship and adherence to the core values adopted by the Escambia County School System: equality, responsibility, integrity, respect, honesty, and patriotism. Congratulations to all of these outstanding students.
We're back and shifting gears. Labor trafficking is the third area of human trafficking we'll be exploring tonight. It's a pleasure to have Giselle Rodriguez and Detective Jeffrey Brown with us for yet another segment. And I'm happy to introduce George Collins, a retiree from the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Department. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And I understand that you've worked quite a bit with labor trafficking. Is that right?
Yes, I actually started working my first case in 2003. And at that time, human trafficking, labor trafficking wasn't a widely known crime amongst law enforcement or the public. And worked it all the way up until 2014 when I retired.
Give us a little bit more information about your background. You have quite a career.
In law enforcement?
Yes.
Well, I was assigned to the Homeland Security Unit at the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office and worked on a statewide task force in that capacity. And then later on, I came to know Anna Rodriguez and Giselle Rodriguez with the Florida Coalition Against Human Trafficking, and became quite involved with them. And so after that, we sort of branched out in our human trafficking investigations, working with neighboring counties, and we found even more cases. We were quite surprised at the level of trafficking that we found in our area.
Amazing. We'll get back to you in just a moment. Giselle, let me talk to you for just a spell here. Labor trafficking. Give us some inroads. How do these people actually get into this, to educate our viewers for a moment?
Well, that's a wonderful question, and I'm glad you asked that due to the fact that there's so many misconceptions surrounding labor trafficking, which often leads to people not really wanting to address this issue. The Urban Justice Center did a study, and what they found from the cases that have been discovered in the United States is that 71% of the victims arrived through our airport with some type of legal visa, which means only 29% actually came in through our borders. So the vast majority of victims of labor trafficking definitely came in under either a tourist visa, a fiancé visa, through our guest worker program, which I'm sure George will touch on.
Yes.
But we are definitely seeing that they are entering our country through our airports and not so much through our borders. And we've also seen numerous cases here in Florida where the victims were U.S. citizens. In 2007, there was a major case that was prosecuted out of Palatka, and this was in the agricultural industry. And from the 250 men that were identified being controlled by this family and being enslaved within the agricultural industry in this part of Florida, all 250 of them were African-American homeless men. So we definitely see that our homeless population is a target for forced labor.
All right. Thank you, Giselle. So, Jeffrey, you have a lot of background in various areas. So, labor trafficking, you and Pensacola in general.
We've worked, because it's such a broad spectrum. It's not going to be just one guy grabbing a couple people. It's going to be an organized group typically that's forcing these people to work and then, pay them the majority of their money with, making them sleep, 10 or 12, 15 people into a small room and force them to go to work. We work hand in hand with Homeland Security, a lot of times FBI, to help tackle this situation because it is an ongoing situation, and it's again, not as reported, just like some of the other issues aren't as well.
So when we deal with hotels and restaurants, for example, can customers maybe help give you a bird's eye view of what's happening? I know, like you said, it's hard sometimes to detect.
It is. There, again, the signs of seeing, 20 people come out of a small car and then go right back into it, and they're there the first day. They're there constantly, day in and day out. A large amount of people. It's those type of issues that you see day in and day out. For the neighbors, because these people have to sleep somewhere. That are victims of this crime. Seeing 20 people in a 2-bedroom house, of course, isn't normal. And that pops into people's minds a lot of times. Call us, let us investigate, let us see what's going on. We definitely need the public's help.
So the prevalence of reports in Pensacola probably not as high?
Not as high as I'm sure that it's going on.
Yes. So, George, let's get back to you because I know that you probably have an example of some of the work that you have done regarding labor trafficking. And did you specialize in the panhandle of Florida?
Yeah, I worked primarily Okaloosa County, and frankly there was more than enough work there in the early stages because what we find is that anywhere where there's a demand for unskilled labor, you have a market for human trafficking. So, for example, in the Destin area, Fort Walton Beach area, high tourist business area with hotels and restaurants, they need a constant influx of employees for doing housekeeping, wait staff, etc. And so what we found is that the basic business model was that you would have a temporary labor contractor who would sometimes on the internet recruit foreign workers or go to those countries such as Russia, Ukraine, other countries in Eastern Europe, and then later on we found them in Brazil and other areas. They would recruit J1 visa holders, which are college students in their own country, or H-2B visa applicants, to come work for them, their temporary labor company, and they would then place them with hotels or restaurants. And then the economic model was that the hotel or restaurant pays the temporary labor company, does not directly pay the worker, and so then the labor company takes the workers' money off the top, pays them next to nothing or nothing. I've actually saw several cases of where they would issue paychecks or pay stubs that actually said 0.00 amount owed because they would start deducting things like rent, uniform cleaning fees, various and sundry fines for offenses that you couldn't even imagine, transportation fees, etc. So that, and like he said, you would see them, they would find housing in middle-class neighborhoods. In our area we have a lot of homes, very nice homes.
We do.
That are owned by people out of state, but rent them month to month. And these traffickers would capitalize on that by going and renting this house month to month, knowing that the landlord was nowhere around, nobody was paying attention, and they would put these workers in there. They would have bunk beds inside. One of the keys we used to look for and we train our patrol officers on is when you're doing your normal patrol or for the neighbors, if you see a bunch of bicycles, 15 bicycles stacked up behind the house, that's unusual, and it's a red flag, and it's something we need to check on. Yeah.
So Jeffrey, any similarities between you and George regarding this, things that you've looked for in the Pensacola area?
The same
Pretty
telltale
much
signs.
image.
I mean, they pretty much are. It's again those signs that we want people where it just doesn't seem right, or even my patrol officers, it just doesn't seem right. It normally isn't right. So they need to take the next step, make a call. If they don't want to go, just make the call. Don't give me your name. Make the call.
Make that call.
I'll take the next step. That's what we're here for as law enforcement. We want to help people in these situations. They're, from other countries coming over for the American dream to make it here and then get tied up in this situation and can't get out.
And Giselle, back to you. How closely have you worked with law enforcement officials regarding labor trafficking in general?
Very closely. One of the things that the Florida Coalition Against Human Trafficking does is that when law enforcement does recover victims of any form of trafficking, they can contact us, and then we can go ahead and provide services to the victims that have been recovered and want to remain in the U.S. And what we do is basically assess them, find out what their needs are, and then provide them with those needs. And basically it's just the system on that road to recovery.
All right. And viewers, we have another clip to share with you. This is Given's story. Take a listen.
Given Kachepa was just 11 years old when he was brought to the United States. He was an orphan, living in crushing poverty in Zambia, when a U.S.-based trafficker promised him an education, free clothes, and the chance to earn money to build schools back home. All by singing in this boys' choir in churches across the U.S. But once here, Given recognized none of it was true, yet he couldn't just walk away.
Just the mind games were the biggest things, and the threats saying that, if you run away or if you call the police or the INS or the U.S. government, anybody you inform, they're not going to have any interest in you. they're just going to send you back. What good do you have to them?
Members of the Colleyville Baptist Church in Texas began to suspect that something wasn't right with the Zambian choir and came to the boys' rescue.
Interesting story. Now, George, was that incident there, was that a little unusual for you? Is this something that you may have run across in the Panhandle?
Well, the cases that I personally observed or worked on mostly involved, as I said before, J1 visa holders, H-2B visa holders. I had one case involving a young lady from Russia who was here on a student visa. The American citizen victims I have was a group of Puerto Ricans who were actually recruited by, and it was an organized crime element, that recruited them to come work at Disney World. Who doesn't want to work at Disney World? Well, they ended up in Destin being forced to. They ended up in Destin being forced to work construction. So the cases are really only limited by the imagination of the traffickers and the needs of the market that they're working in. When I was working these cases, some of them are like mom and pop trafficking organizations. A husband and wife set up a business and they end up getting into this. But others were very well organized. And some cases I saw, we could track their connections, company connections, to Jacksonville, to Atlanta, to Tennessee, to Las Vegas, and they would ship workers back and forth as they needed them.
All right, we'll have more after our break. So from sex trafficking to domestic servitude to forced labor, human trafficking is a serious issue that should never be taken lightly. So as a reminder, you can help save a life. To report human trafficking, please call the national hotline at 1-888-373-7888.
American Graduate is proud to recognize a champion for education.
Our mission is to provide girls and young women an opportunity for a better future through education, counseling, training, and advocacy to enable them to become independent, empowered young women and productive members of our society.
I didn't want to graduate. I was going to drop out, and then I came to PACE.
Frequent discipline problems, family issues that cost them to not be able to attend school regularly, so they had big gaps in their learning.
I didn't used to like coming to school, but once I started coming to PACE, it really brought me out to love school.
A lot of times we might be that student's confidence until she begins to see her successes and see that she really can accomplish everything that she's come here to do. But education is more than just the academics. It's being able to function in society and be successful there. And we see that with our girls and we love it.
Now I'm being a leader instead of a follower. And I have people looking up to me to be the best person I can be.
PACE Center for Girls is just a beautiful place to be because amazing things happen in the lives of the girls every day, and we're here to celebrate it.
PACE Center for Girls in Pensacola, a positive environment to help young women grow, achieve, and succeed. For more stories of champions, visit americangraduate.org.
We're glad to have George Collins and Detective Jeffrey Brown back for this segment. including Giselle Rodriguez, who has been with us via telephone the entire time. Now we'll take a close look at some specific clues that can be used to identify those who are trafficked.
There are a number of clues to identify a victim of human trafficking. Typically, we'll look for a lack of proper documentation or maybe a well-rehearsed story that had been given to them by the trafficker. We'll also look for physical signs of abuse, and you might also find in a victim intense fear and depression.
Evidence of being controlled is another important clue. Knowing what questions to ask can help uncover victims of trafficking. Questions like, are you being paid? Have you been threatened? Where do you eat and sleep? And can you leave your job if you want to?
All right, George, we were talking shortly before you came on set about the different organizations that can recognize or somehow detect those who may be trafficked. Let's start with faith-based organizations.
Well, as Brad mentioned, one of the things that trafficking victims often do is seek out the church of their faith or any faith, whether U.S. citizens or foreign-born. That seems to be a place of safety for them.
Yes.
So they'll seek out a church. What we try to encourage people to do, the American citizens there, is to engage those people. Usually, like they're visa holders, as I said, from another country, engage with them and ask some of the questions they showed on screen here a few moments ago. And one of the things I would try to tell people is that there are no happy trafficking victims. Now, most of the victims I encountered were young people, college-age people.
Okay.
And college-age people, no matter where they're from in the world, they're party-oriented. They're usually very upbeat and happy. So if you encounter a young lady or a young man from Russia or Ukraine, wherever they might be from, and they're down in the dumps all the time, they look like they're tired and worn out, and you ask them, well, are you having a good time in America? What'd you come here for? And he said, oh, I wanted to go, I wanted to learn to ski, and I wanted to go parasailing. That's what I wanted to do.
Yes.
And he said, well, have you been able to do that yet? And they said, oh, no, I don't have time. I don't have any money. That's sort of a warning.
Telltale sign.
Right? Yes.
Jeffrey, I see you shaking your head. Why don't you elaborate a little bit more?
I mean, couldn't elaborate any more. I mean, that's exactly right. These people come here, and especially, they'll let them come to church regularly. If they're wearing the same clothes and they just, again, seem depressed, they haven't done anything, what have you done? They're not engaged in the extra church activities, the faith-based activities, any of the cookouts they go on typically. They come and they leave, and that's it, and they're kind of forced out. Get to engage those people while the service is going on. Talk to them as much as you can. Again, if it doesn't seem right, it probably isn't.
Then there's probably something wrong.
Right.
Giselle, let's head back to you. Let's talk about social service providers in your organization, your connection.
Sure, and I also know if there was something I can add to what the gentlemen were talking about as far as victim identification.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. One of the things that we're starting to see in Florida is we are seeing labor trafficking within the door-to-door sales crews. So one of the things that we tend to tell people is that if you tell the young person that's trying to sell you magazines or whatever goodies that they have, if you tell them no and they almost become desperate or become very urgent in trying to convince you as to why you need to purchase that, and you start feeling a little uncomfortable, this is something that you should definitely report to law enforcement, because we are seeing where youth are being brought into Florida from other parts of the country. They're physically and emotionally abused. Unfortunately, some of the females have been sexually assaulted, and they're literally knocking on people's doors. So that's how close some of these labor trafficking operations can be to some of your viewers. They may have actually knocked on a viewer's door. So definitely pay attention to the body language, and if they become very desperate and there's this urgency on, I have to sell you this magazine.
They have to meet a quota.
That should be noted. As far as social services, unfortunately, in Florida, there aren't that many service providers, or there aren't as many as they used to be, due to the fact that there haven't, in the last a year or two, there haven't been as many cases reported as there have in the past. So unfortunately what we've seen is that there has been some funding cuts made to human trafficking service providers. Unfortunately, we have seen some of our partners actually shut their doors down due to lack of funding. What we have done is we have partnered up with organizations that are provided funding to work with victims of crime, whether it's a rape crisis center or a domestic violence shelter. What we have done is worked with them, trained them, so that if there's something that a victim is in need of, and there isn't a trafficking organization that can meet that need, or our organization, for that fact, we can then contact partners throughout the state of Florida who, again, are still receiving funding to work with victims of crime. So that partnership has been very useful in the fact that, although there's still that lack of funding specifically geared towards trafficking victims can still obtain services.
Great information there, Giselle. So, Jeffrey, let's talk about healthcare workers and the signs that they may observe.
A lot of times, people that are involved in any type of trafficking, they're abused, as we've talked about. So, of course, they had to, depending on how bad the situation is, get some type of medical help. There are a lot of the healthcare providers do call us a lot more. We do get a lot of those calls about, mystery injuries, that the story just doesn't match up. It might be something for us to just kind of come check out and see. There are, of course, laws protecting, people's privacy if they don't want us involved. But from when I've started my career to now, it's leaps and bounds difference. And the education for healthcare providers to give us a call, let us try and get involved, get some help if they can. A lot of times they'll document it, just to document it. So if that person starts to come back multiple occasions, it's something that we need to know about.
Right. George, what about in the Panhandle? Healthcare workers and their involvement.
Healthcare workers have been important to us in the past. One group especially would be the health department. And this relates more to sex trafficking, I think, because people go to the health department very often for treatment for STDs, etc. And we started working with the health department very closely, and again, privacy concerns come into play. But they can give us indications that don't particularly identify a patient when they see things that are suspicious. For example, a man brings in 2 young ladies, and he does all the talking, and they seem very submissive or quiet, very scared. And perhaps a man comes with them, and it's been reported to us where a man will come in and just scoop up a whole box of condoms to take out of the health department with them. And so they can give us enough information to say, hey, we saw this at this time, and we can begin an investigation. And sometimes even without the identity of the patient, we can pursue that into a full investigation.
Great. Giselle, law enforcement involvement in general, we have 2 great specialists right here, but let's talk about your organization and your connection with law enforcement.
Well, for several years, since the Florida Coalition Against Human Trafficking opened in 2004, and actually since our founder, Anna, started working on this issue back in 1999, we have had an amazing relationship with law enforcement at all levels, whether it's federal, state, or local. We are also very much involved in a lot of the law enforcement-led task forces or working groups throughout the state. I have to say that we definitely do see some very passionate detectives and agents that are working nonstop to put these cases together and put the perpetrators behind bars. So we've never had any bad situations. They've been amazing partnerships, very trustworthy type of partnerships. And, the thing that I love is when we call them after we've done some outreach or we've gotten a call from someone in the local area, they are very responsive. And I've seen them do amazing things. I've seen some of the detectives take some of our clients out just to grab a bite to eat, to have lunch,
Wonderful.
Just to talk about things besides what happened to them, what was done to them. I have to say Florida definitely is lucky to have such amazing law enforcement partners in the fight against human trafficking.
All right, Giselle, great information. So Jeffrey, any words of wisdom to the general public? Keep your eyes open. But aside from that,
we're here to help. You know, law enforcement, myself, Homeland Security, FBI, any agency, any social working agency, anybody, we're here to help these people. We're here to help. That's what we want to do. That's why we got into this job, and that's what we want to do. These people are being victimized day in and day out. No one wants to live like that. Give us the tools, let us help them, let us pull them out of that.
And George, a sentence or two.
One thing I would emphasize is that, you know, over the years I've found sometimes where people lack some basic sympathy or empathy for trafficking victims because they were foreigners, or in some cases they're here illegally, etc. And politics aside, whatever your personal beliefs are about that, you know, one thing to keep in mind is nobody deserves to be a slave in this day and age. And so whoever they are, they're entitled to some basic human dignity, and we all have to try and fight for that.
All right, and you all are doing such an exceptional job. We have so much work to do as a society, don't we?
Yep.
All right, but we're in it for the fight.
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay, again, I would like to thank all of our guests for joining us this evening. Plus, we give special thanks to the Rescue and Restore Victims of Human Trafficking Public Awareness Campaign for providing video clips we shared. Coming up next time on inStudio, Jeff Weeks will take man's best friend to another level as he delves into the lives of service dog canines that are enhancing people's lives beyond the call of duty. I'm Rameca Vincent Leary. Have a good evening. So remember to keep it locked in right here, WSRE, PBS for the Gulf Coast.